Welcome back. Remember, we're talking about the taxes that are being introduced in the Finance Bill 2024. This is still a bill. These are still proposals. Now, let's go to one of the big ones. The motor vehicle tax is being introduced. This will be 2.5% of the value of the vehicle, with the minimum being set at 5,000 shillings and the maximum set at 100,000 shillings. So let's try and do some math here. It means if your car is 4 million, worth 4 million shillings, so we're talking about maybe a New Forester, a RAV4, something like that. Hakuna difference yako na mtu wa V8. Both of you will pay 100,000 shillings even if their car is worth 40 million Kenya shillings. That's been one of the challenges, because then the question is it really fair for someone like that to be asked to pay the same amount as someone who's driving a Gazla? Then one of the things that will happen with this tax is that when you go to pay for your insurance premiums, the insurance company will also collect this tax. So based on the value that you give them, they'll collect this amount on top of your premium. So if you know you pay maybe 100,000 in premiums, you better now start planning for 200,000. Start saving and saving and saving, because the government is coming for that money. Now, one thing to note about this tax is that there's a penalty. 50% of the uncollected tax. All right, that's the penalty plus the actual amount of uncollected tax, and that penalty is directed towards the insurance companies. Now, part of the challenge with this tax is this. Why are we having the motor vehicle tax and we're also having the road maintenance levy side by side? Remember, part of the road maintenance levy, which had been introduced in 2006 by then Treasury CS Amos Kimunya, was to address the question of compliance requirements that were multiple, right, when it came to motor vehicles in Kenya. So the road maintenance levy was then introduced. It almost feels like when you have the motor vehicle tax together with the road maintenance levy, it feels like a double taxation or something. It's really not fair to have both of them. So I don't know what's going to happen with this. Now, the other thing you have to realize is that insurance premiums are already at 4% of the value of the vehicle. Now, if you add another 2.5, that becomes 6.5%. That is a huge amount. 6.5% for the car you have. You can imagine if you have more than one car, then that means that your premiums are going to hit the roof. So I don't know how this is going to work, but remember, these are still proposals, and then we'll look at this more and more. Now, the Treasury has also proposed to increase the import declaration from the current 2.5% of the customs value to 3%, so an increase of 0.5%. Now, there was a complaint by alcoholic beverage manufacturers that the window for remitting the excise duty had been put at 24 hours, and now it has been revised to 5 working days. And part of the challenge here was that the manufacturers were saying, if you want us to pay this amount daily and we run a credit business, once the beer leaves the factory, you have 30 days to receive money. So it cuts off circulation and affects the liquidity of the manufacturer. So I think the government has listened to that and is now increasing that period from 24 hours to 5 days. Sawa. Now, to be able to register for VAT, the threshold has always been set at 5 million shillings. The government is now increasing that to 8 million shillings. The last time there was revision of this was in 2007, when it moved from 3 million to 5 million shillings. Now, remember that thing they used to call the digital services tax? Yes, that is the one influencers were up in arms when they discover they're going to be getting taxed for the work that they do. Now, what the government is doing is that it's doing away with the digital services tax, and it now wants to adopt what we call the significant economic presence tax. Now, the taxable profit of a person liable to pay the tax shall be 20% of gross turnover, after which the tax is slapped at 30%. Now, you'll remember that the digital services tax was at 1.5%, and now it looks like we're having an increase of 6%. All right? So, I don't know how this is going to be. It's a bit problematic and a bit confusing, but of course, we're going to see more and more. We're going to get more and more information, and also as the bill continues to progress through Parliament, we'll probably see more changes coming in for that. Now, on VAT withholding agents, right? If you're an agent, person who collects VAT on behalf of the government, then the KRA's reach in appointing manufacturers as agents will be widened. The finance bill wants to do away with the proposal of 3 billion investment threshold. That's the threshold you need to have before you can become an agent. Now, agents will now be expected to remit collections to KRA within 5 working days and not the 20th of every month. All right. So when you receive the VAT within 5 working days, then you remit it to the government. Now, there's another thing here called eTIMS. eTIMS is the electronic tax system that the government has been trying to use. And the Finance Bill 2024 now proposes that you must integrate eTIMS in all your transactions. Now, failure to comply, you'll be slapped with 2 million shillings penalty every month, every single month. Now, you'll note that many of the large businesses are already integrated with KRA systems. So this one is that targeted at the Mamamboga and the Boda Boda and the small guy down there. 2 million shillings every month when you do not integrate eTIMS in your transactions. Sawa. Now, another notable change, cigarettes. Excise on, let's start with telephone and internet data. Excise duty is now increasing from 15%, 20%. So you're going to see an increase in your monthly payment for data services and internet services. Money transfer by banks, money transfer agencies and other financial services has increased to 20%. So you're going to see there are more charges for you to transact or to withdraw your money. Now, there's also excise duty on fees charged for money transfer services by cellular phone services such as M-Pesa. Betting, excise duty is back to 20%, and that's 20% of the stake, which means if you bet 100 shillings, the government takes 20, and your stake becomes 80 shillings. All right? So now it looks like we are back to that 20% number. What do you think about this? I know there are some people who are just giving their feedback. Remember, you can give us your feedback on the socials at Power Radio. We are here. We'll be able to just read some of those comments that are coming through. Of course, Flozi in studio is telling me that we have some feedback. So I'm going to be looking at that in a short while. But yes, any of these taxes, is there anything that you've come across and you're looking at it and you're wondering, hey, kutaendaje hapa? Just let us know. Let us get that feedback. When we come back, we just look at a few more proposals. And then we talk about what provisions are in the Constitution. Because this is not the end of the road. This is just the start of that road. So what does the law provide in case of taking your feedback and your opinion on these taxes? It's not just enough to be angry and tweet about it. There is actually a window and a door that is provided for you to give your feedback on these matters.